Mark Rogers TV, of course, talking college football today, but most specifically Jameis Winston and some of his recent actions, and even going back over the last year. This is an interesting case, none like we've seen recently, or maybe in all time of college football. We bring in Devin Negrete, sports reporter, Central Missouri. Devin, we thank you for joining us. This is a situation where this, I don't want to call him a kid, I don't want to call him a man. He's a young man, he's developing, hopefully maturing and learning some things along the line, although it would indicate, based on his actions, that he's not necessarily learning and taking from his experiences at this point, unfortunately.
Thanks, Mark. And unfortunately, he isn't. I mean, he's made so many mistakes thus far, and he's not learning from them. He's getting accused for sexual assault. He's stealing stuff from a grocery store and now shouting out obscene phrases in a public setting. It's not looking good for Winston right now. I mean, and he's not taking these actions and learning from them. He's just making more repercussions and injuring himself more. He may be a star athlete. He may be a Heisman Trophy winner. But, I mean, does that give him the right to think that he can do whatever he wants and not hurt himself or his teammates, or even his fans, for that matter?
Devin, some people go away to college and they get connected with the wrong people and they kind of turn into different people. It's definitely a transitional type of situation for a lot of people and stage of life. But we understand that Jameis Winston has a long history of this that we've seen at Florida State, but it even goes back further than that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, most of us, we've all been to college and we have made those mistakes, and that's where it's time to make those mistakes. But when you keep making the same mistakes over and over again and affecting all the people that are your surrounding, I mean, it not only affects you, but it affects your team and how you are as a leader. I mean, if you are making all these mistakes, you can't lead your team in a good way without there being any repercussions from it.
So to me, I don't necessarily know that we're setting these young athletes up for success in life. We're setting them up for success because of the state-of-the-art training and all the facilities and all the support and help that we give them as athletes. But when you become entitled because everything goes your way and you're given the best seat and you're given the best place and you're given privileges all through school because of your athletic skill, and then real world, real life hits you, and you have to pay the price and face the consequences of your actions with the law, then it seems as though some of these people are kind of taken back by that, and it's a different world for them.
Well, and you know, that's the sad part, is because whenever everything had happened and he said that obscene phrase, and he was only going to get suspended for half the game. I mean, you know, and you go to the NFL, you get suspended for more than half a game. You get suspended for a whole game, you know, especially going back to the sexual assault. Even though he was accused, I mean, you know, we see what's going on with Ray Rice right now. But I was watching SportsCenter, and they had a graphic showing that, well, here are the points that they'll lose if he's out for half the game. Here's the points that he'll lose if he's out for the full game. I mean, you need to be looking at the bigger picture and what kind of example that you want to set as a school, as a team, and for future athletes that you want to recruit. Because, you know, as I was saying earlier, the people in his hometown, they are extremely disappointed with the actions that he has been making. And, I mean, what other parent is going to want to let their kid go to that school and possibly make those same actions?
Yeah, Devin, and we talked about this a number of times through the last few weeks. You would like to think that most people do the right thing for the right reason, that they have the incentive of caring for other people and wanting to treat other people with respect, trying to put themselves in the best light of being a caring, respectful person who has some integrity and character. But even beyond that, if he's just doing it for business purposes, putting on a facade, you would think after a few of these occurrences that he would be a little bit smarter and from a business sense understand, okay, everything I read, everything I'm coached in regards to off the field, conduct and what I see that's valued in the NFL, which is number one, talent. There's no question about that by far. But past that, that in the NFL, they look at those quarterbacks, Brady, Manning, Breeze on down the line, as franchise faces, and they want them to have the reputation and exude the image of respect and integrity along with the football talent.
Exactly, and I think that's something that the NFL is now beginning to start to crack down on is, some of the actions that they want to take whenever athletes make these mistakes. Like I was reading in Sports Illustrated earlier in the summer, they had a diagram how, whenever a player does something specific, they'll get suspended for a specific amount of games. Well, I mean, if you have somebody like Jameis Winston, yeah, you're a talented athlete, but what team is going to take somebody who is going to constantly get suspended and, one, not make any money off of him, and two, not be able to use him as a franchise? I mean, I read how Tony Dungy, he wouldn't even draft Winston if he had the opportunity because of the actions that he's making and how he may hurt the franchise more than he'd actually help.
Devin, I'm not going to put you on the spot as master psychologist here, but it's kind of my thought that most people don't change or turn around, period, but most people don't change unless they're hit with some type of wake-up call. They've got to be hit with something that just scares them silly, that changes their actions, and they understand, again, whether it changes them as a person or they just realize, okay, I can't do those things, and they're still somewhat the same person, but they realize from a business standpoint and just to kind of survive in life that they can't do those things. Or maybe somebody comes across their path in life, and I think this is kind of rare, but it happens, where somebody is just so influential and such a good influence that they connect with that person and they can somehow lead them in the right direction. So what is it going to take for Jameis Winston to grow up?
Well, I think, first of all, he needs to start reading what's being said about him on the internet, because, I mean, I'm sure once he finds out that not only his hometown is disappointed in him, but, I mean, he keeps just making the same mistakes over, and he needs to get his act together and either hang out with a better crowd or find a better light and, look into his coach. I mean, his coach should be there to help him along the way and to help him through this process and help guide him. And you think he'd want him so he can use him. I mean, he couldn't use him at all in Clemson because of the actions that he made, and he got suspended for the whole game. So he needs to look into somebody and confide into somebody to help put him on the better path. I mean, I'm a big Oklahoma Sooners fan, and Oklahoma, they took Dorial Green-Beckham hoping that we could use him. And, he is just like Jameis. He made a ton of mistakes while he was at Mizzou, and the hopefulness was to maybe he'd be surrounded by different people and by a different environment to kind of help better him as a person, so then he could be better on as an athlete and go more into the NFL. I think that just kind of relates back to Winston and how he needs to confide into people, better people, and make sure that he's getting on the right path so then he can advance the NFL without a problem and maybe start turning some heads back around thinking, okay, he's a great athlete and he's changing his ways and he needs to be better at that. Devin
Negrete, sports reporter, Central Missouri University. Devin, before we let you go, where can people find you?
You can find me at Twitter. I believe it's Devin _ Negrete, or you can also find me at Facebook. It's DevinNegrete.
All right, Devin, I think we could talk about Jameis Winston and the ins and outs of his approach to life and what he's done for hours and hours, but we appreciate the insight and the information.
Thank you so much.